Hey, what's going on guys, it's Cynical and welcome back to another video. Today for you guys, I want to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3's other version. The version that was not built on Unreal Engine 4 for the final product, but rather its initial build, the one that was being developed on Square Enix's own in-house Luminous Studio Engine. And talk about the history of the game's engine switch that caused a massive delay for development. Kingdom Hearts 3 was revealed back in 2013, and at this point Square Enix had recently begun developing Kingdom Hearts 3 using their own in-house engine. Now during this reveal trailer, we didn't actually see any proper gameplay footage. We did see what looked like gameplay footage at the end of this trailer. However, as confirmed by Tetsuya Nomura, this was simply just a pre-rendered video depicting what they have in mind for Kingdom Hearts 3's gameplay. Obviously, at first, everyone that saw this trailer believed that this was true Kingdom Hearts 3 gameplay and was kind of taken aback, especially looking at Sora's movements in this trailer, looking at the lighting. The visuals for this time looked absolutely incredible, but it was later on confirmed that this is just simply pre-rendered. You could also tell by just looking at the heads-up display, this was incredibly placeholder, a very different looking HUD for that of Kingdom Hearts for the health bars, and also the character arts that were used here are simply just the Kingdom Hearts 2 models being quickly chucked in. This is mainly because Square Enix at the time had only just recently begun working on Kingdom Hearts 3, and at this point didn't have anything prepared to actually show off. Though Nomura did mention after this trailer had released to Famitsu that there was actually a demo version that runs on hardware and is quote-unquote an absolute storm. It goes even beyond bold action. In Kingdom Hearts 3, you will have a 3-person party, but depending on the worlds, NPCs will also join in fighting. Basically, some very flashy action will unfold. You'll be flying through the sky, flowing through air battles without landing. So, to some degree, there at least was a playable version, even though they decided to go with this FMV. Of course, the game would have been in an incredibly early state, but still it is surprising. Nomura even did mention around this time that he felt like Kingdom Hearts 3 was revealed a little bit too early. It wouldn't be until October 13th, 2013 at the D23 Expo over in Japan that we'd see the first proper look at Kingdom Hearts 3 gameplay running on the Luminous engine. The trailer showed off to us Sora, Donald, and Goofy in Twilight Town fighting a mob of Heartless, Sora using Keyblade transformations like the dual arrow guns here using fire magic, as well as Sora just normally using fire magic. All of the special effects and lighting looked absolutely incredible and served as a really cool example as to what the Luminous engine was capable of. The trailer also showed off to us the attraction flow rides for the first time, something that had been talked about in interviews prior. This is a new combat mechanic for that of Kingdom Hearts 3, and to see them in action was pretty damn exciting just to see how absolutely flashy these things were. We saw the pirate ship, and we got to see the roller coaster, known back then as Big Magic Mountain. It's now known as Mountain Coaster, so that original name actually is closer to that of the actual theme park ride in Disneyland, known as Big Thunder Mountain. We'll also notice that the heads-up display in this build too is close to that of what was seen in that pre-rendered cutscene, with the very weird-looking MP and health bars for your party members. But also another thing that's super cool that I wish got into the final version of Kingdom Hearts 3 is the fully animated heads-up display heads for Sora, Donald, and Goofy. They're actually moving. They're actually animated. This is something that we now have in Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. Potentially, could we end up seeing this for Kingdom Hearts 4? Now, what we didn't know was we wouldn't end up seeing Kingdom Hearts 3 again until June of 2015, closing in on almost 2 whole years. 2014 was an incredibly dry year for KH3. We didn't end up seeing anything. There was, however, something that was shown off to a small group of people that ended up attending the Kingdom Hearts 2.5 launch event. Some brand new KH3 footage was actually shown off. Still to this day, this footage has never been seen though by the public. Now we will talk about that footage, but before we do, 2014 did provide fans with some pretty concerning news, and that is that KH3 is facing an engine change. In July of 2014, Famitsu ended up interviewing Tetsuya Nomura, asking how the development of Kingdom Hearts 3 is going. Nomura replied saying, "We are progressing steadily according to our planned schedule. Due to the change of game engine to Unreal 4 for various reasons," he never ended up stating reasons at that time, probably because he didn't want to upset any of the higher-ups at Square Enix. Went on to mention that he's having trouble creating, it says, pictures here, that is translations, more so means just renders and working around the Unreal Engine. He does mention that with the help of Epic Games, though, they are able to proceed with development smoothly. Epic not only allowed Square Enix to use the Unreal Engine in order to develop their game, but they actually lent several lending hands in order to teach Square how to use UE. They actually assisted in the development of Kingdom Hearts 3 more than you would think. The partnership between both Epic Games as well as Square Enix is pretty tight, and that's probably hence why we see the Kingdom Hearts games in the Epic Games Store rather than currently Steam. This is quite obviously concerning because any game engine change partway through development is going to hinder any progress made. So already fans waiting an incredibly long time for KH3, hearing this news was one of the worst things of all time. As this news came out to us in July and the next slice of KH3 ended up coming out in December of 2014 for the private trailer, I would say that the footage that was shown off there was likely to be a little bit of a test and example of Kingdom Hearts running on Unreal Engine 4. Still to this day, it is unknown and will never be known if that exclusive trailer was still actually running on the Luminous engine. Thanks to the attendees, we ended up receiving descriptions of exactly what they saw during that footage. It was Scarlet Kylum, but at the time we didn't know that. A lot of people thought it was some sort of improved version of the Land of Departure. There was also a scene of Sora standing within the chess room that young Ericus and Xehanort play chess in. There was gameplay footage of Sora using his dual arrow guns as well as the cannon transformation, and Sora even being in both his Wisdom and Valor form Drive form outfits. There were even new Heartless that were shown off that at the time were described as being gladiator themed. Of course now we know that these are the Heartless that appear in Olympus. It's incredibly interesting to know that even back then in 2014, the idea of Scarlet Kylum had already been developed, whether it do be within Luminous or Unreal Engine 4. During the same time as the 2.5 launch event, Tai Yasue ended up speaking on the engine change, providing us with a little bit more insight towards how exactly that's progressing with development. He mentioned that there was nothing wrong with the Luminous engine. They decided that Unreal Engine 4 was right for them. There was a huge network of people actually using it. We were communicating with the Japanese people at Epic a lot. It was easy to shift to, but at the same time though, there was a lot of stuff specific to Kingdom Hearts that we couldn't really do on Unreal at first, so we had a lot of cooperation from Epic. At the same time, we were doing a lot of customization of the engine as well to suit our needs. Tai also mentioned that a lot of those graphical assets that they ended up developing for the Luminous version ended up being used for the Unreal version, so that's great. None of that stuff ended up getting scrapped. It is interesting he makes this comment though, because Nomura almost kind of contradicts that in a future comment made in a 2015 interview. Nomura's interview in June of 2015, around the time that we finally got the first public trailer showing KH3 in Unreal Engine 4, they asked about how the Unreal Engine 4 transition went, with Nomura responding, "When the transition was complete, it allowed Kingdom Hearts to expand its expression and gameplay, such as the effects on the field. Since there were differences in game engines, modifications were made as much as possible. Visually comparing between the footage, I think nothing seems out of place," essentially meaning that obviously Square Enix, like Tai Yasue said, ended up having to modify Unreal Engine in order to get certain things working so that it could properly depict their vision for what they wanted from Kingdom Hearts 3, from what they initially wanted out of Luminous. And that also visually the game remained to look the same as the example that they showed back in 2013. Square Enix ended up creating a unique shader tool for Luminous known as the Kingdom Shader to go along with Kingdom Hearts 3, allowing Square to be able to change the art style and graphics so that each of the worlds that Sora would visit would accurately depict their actual movie counterpart. So this meant that Square Enix would have to recreate that same shader tool again, but now for a completely different engine. Nomura did mention here that the transition was quite a process and that the team basically had to start from the ground again. He mentioned in 2015 that the reason why we hadn't seen Kingdom Hearts 3 in such a long time since that initial reveal was due to this engine switch. We got more towards this story finally in 2019, shortly before the release of the game. Tai Yasue mentions that the reason why this switch ended up happening was a decision made by the higher-ups, essentially so that the developers had a much smoother and easier time developing KH3 on Unreal and with the support that is there available compared to the ease of developing the game on the Luminous engine and the support available during the time. As mentioned here, the team that were experts on using this engine were actually developing a different game, and at this point would have been Final Fantasy 15. Tai mentions the thing with Unreal 4 is it's really easy to experiment, gameplay-wise. They didn't need any assets to start off with, so the game designers that aren't artists could just straight up test things off the bat without actually having to spend time developing things from the ground up, unlike Luminous. These are reasons as to why Unreal Engine is the most prominent, the most commonly used and most universal game engine for games to be developed on nowadays. There is a large amount of developers using this engine, and the knowledge towards how to do A, B, C, or D is all there. The tools that are required in order to develop a game are right there within the engine itself. And as we've seen too, Square Enix's Luminous engine, an engine where its sole goal was to develop new, next-generation, high-quality, high-fidelity video games released back in 2012, didn't really end up being all successful for the company. Originally, Final Fantasy Versus 13 was supposed to be developed on this, which ended up evolving into that of Final Fantasy 15, and even a lot of the Final Fantasy Fabula Novala Crystallis games were meant to be developed on this as well. Right now, there are currently only 2 successful projects that ended up being developed. That's Final Fantasy 15 as well as Forspoken. And while I absolutely loved Final Fantasy 15 as well as thoroughly enjoyed Forspoken, I suppose you can't exactly call them true successes though either. Forspoken was met with mostly negative reception, and Luminous Studios, the ones who were using the Luminous engine to develop high quality games, ended up shutting down shortly after the release of Forspoken this year. It costs a lot of money developing a game engine, and there is not a single doubt in the world that Square Enix have lost so much money through those development costs of fueling this engine through the unsuccessful video games that have spawned through it. I think honestly there were probably development issues going on behind the scenes with Kingdom Hearts 3, getting a Kingdom Hearts game to function and work properly running on Luminous. However, it gets me super curious as to the product that KH3 would have been if it had remained on the Luminous engine. We only see a very small window into what that would have looked like with that 2013 footage, and it does still look very much like the products that we have today. But what's interesting to know is somewhere out there, deep within the hard drives of Square Enix, in the crypts deep down below, is a version of Kingdom Hearts 3 running on that engine. For those of you who are unaware though, this engine change is the biggest reason why it took Kingdom Hearts 3 so long to come out, and Nomura just simply revealing the project way too soon. They had almost not even started working on the game at the time they ended up revealing it, which is an absolute big no-no. You don't actually announce a game until you're at least about a year, 2 years away from release. It's certainly a bad habit that Square Enix have, though I have to say that over the past few years, especially when looking at Final Fantasy XVI as well as the upcoming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it seems to be that they're really working on this issue. This is why I say that for Kingdom Hearts 4, I don't think we'll see any more of the game until Square Enix do have a clear release date in mind. However guys, that is the other version of Kingdom Hearts 3, just a little brief history lesson for those of you who don't know about the strenuous development cycle that this game ended up going through, and that at one point it was running on a completely different engine. It is interesting to envision that alternate reality where KH3 was running on this engine, perhaps maybe how different it would both look and feel. Be sure to leave your comments in the comment section down below. I've been Cynical. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.